Limits today. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you're watching. Could be on TikTok, could be on Twitch, could be on the FM AM dial, KSHP, could be the Occupy Democrats Network. We appreciate you all being here. And boy, let's just get right to it. What a busy news day. A lot to talk about. But I'll tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If you listen to conservative radio, could be in Las Vegas, could be anywhere throughout the country, or Fox Noise or Newsmax, they're not really talking a lot about this jailed Russian opposition figure. I would actually call him a hero, Alexei Navalny. Oh, no, they're not talking about that. Or what about the special counsel, David Weiss, charging this former FBI informant with lying about President Joe Biden and his son Hunter? No, the Republicans don't want to talk about that stuff. They don't want to talk about gun control. They want to talk about a sexual relationship that a powerful black woman had, perfectly legal, by the way, to defend the orange turd. That's the story that you'll hear everywhere on right-wing entities, whether it be radio or television, and it's an effing joke is what it is. And I want to start off by getting this story out of the way right from the get-go, because it's a story that's been endorsed and covered and talked about on Fox News, on OAN, on Newsmax, for God knows how long. Well, it turns out that special counsel David Weiss has charged a former FBI informant with lying about President Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden's involvement in business dealings. This was their all-star witness, right? This was the witness that the Republicans had with all the credibility in the world. Well, it turns out he's a liar. And Sean Hannity endorsed this guy and endorsed this story for at least 85 segments and 28 monologues. This was just a little bit about what Sean Hannity said about this oh-so-credible former FBI informant.
Documented allegations of bribery from a trusted FBI confidential human source has now finally been released. Now, its contents are devastating.
The contents are devastating. Trusted is the word that Sean Hannity used. And again, I go back to what I said earlier. Sean Hannity did 85 segments on this and 28 monologues. Well, this guy's a liar. Zero credibility, just like everybody else that Fox News gives a platform to. But no, you won't hear conservative talk radio talking about this story. They'll still call the Biden family the crime family. Heck, they might even still run with this person's testimony. A known liar with no credibility. It's been proven. But you won't hear conservative talk radio talking about that story. No, they want to talk about Fani Willis's sex life. Now, I'll be the first one to admit, bad judgment. You put an attorney on a case going after the former president of the United States. You don't want to have any skeletons in your closet. And even though Fani Willis didn't break the law, it was a lapse of judgment on her part. There's no question about it. But have you heard the questioning going into Fani Willis's sex life? Folks, it's disgusting. And this comes on a day where a judge is probably going to make a judgment in New York City on Donald Trump. Could be in excess of $300 million. And Donald Trump will probably never be able to do business in the state of New York again. But will right-wing talk show hosts be talking about that when that judgment comes in, which it will, could be today? No. They want to talk about Fani Willis's sex life. Are they talking about gun control? Are they going to be talking about the mass shootings that are taking place in this country, which seems like on a daily basis? Are they going to be continually covering what took place at the Kansas City Chiefs parade? We will. We're going to have a witness to the shooting on coming up here in about 20 minutes. No. Conservative radio and television, they're not going to be talking about that. They're going to be talking about a powerful black woman and her sex life. Yes, that's what they're going to be talking about. And isn't it interesting, folks, that this hero, and that's exactly who Alexei Navalny was, a hero who died in a Russian prison. Will you hear Donald Trump today speaking out against the Kremlin? Will you hear Donald Trump make the same or similar statements to Joe Biden? Joe Biden today calling out Vladimir Putin, blaming him, rightfully so, for Alexei Navalny's death. This is a murder, ladies and gentlemen, and this is no different than what Kim Jong-un did to Otto Warmbier. This is murder. I'll answer the question for you, my right-wing MAGA friends. No, you won't. Donald Trump will not be calling out Vladimir Putin for anything. Vladimir Putin and Russia could invade 5 NATO countries and Donald Trump wouldn't call him out. In fact, he'd probably endorse it. You won't hear this on right-wing radio. You won't hear it leading on Fox News or Newsmax or OAN. They won't be calling out Vladimir Putin. In fact, maybe Tucker Carlson will be prancing back over to Russia and do another puffer interview with Vladimir Putin, the evil, murderous dictator. Alexei Navalny was a hero. But the right-wingers out today, they're not really covering this story. They're not calling out Vladimir Putin. They want to know about Fani Willis's sex life. That's what they're doing. Mark my words, that's what they'll be leading with on all the shows today and tonight on Fox Noise, OAN, and Newsmax. Navalny was a hero. And taking any sort of opposition and any oppositional stance to Vladimir Putin will most likely get you murdered and killed. Putin has been known for doing that, and he continues to do it. This guy, the attempt on poisoning him, it's amazing that he lasted this long. He is a hero, and he should always be looked at as a hero. And he made all these global headlines. If you remember, he was poisoned with this nerve agent back in 2020. He was sentenced to 19 years in prison, and he was already serving sentences of 11 and a half years in a maximum security facility on fraud and other charges that he denied. And there are a lot of world leaders that have been reacting with shock and sadness, including, as I mentioned, Joe Biden. Nothing from Donald Trump. Donald Trump's not calling out the Kremlin. Donald Trump's not calling out Vladimir Putin. What does Vladimir Putin have on Donald Trump? Why is it that Donald Trump fails to call out Vladimir Putin in Russia for anything? In fact, at times condoning the behavior of the Russian government and Vladimir Putin. Why don't you answer that one for yourself? Why is it that there are so many middle-aged white Republicans out there that are obsessed over Fani Willis's sex life? Can somebody please explain that to me? I don't know. I'm just throwing this question out there. Could it maybe have something to do with the fact that she's black? A powerful black woman? Could it maybe have something to do with the fact that she's actually trying to hold Donald Trump accountable and the people around him accountable for trying to overturn a free and fair election back in 2020? Could that be possible as well? I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of both. I don't know. Call me crazy. And while all this is going on and all these right-wing fairy tales are crumbling before our very eyes, do we remember the movie? Or I'm not going to call it a documentary. It's not a documentary. It was a movie, a fictional movie called 2000 Mules. Dinesh D'Souza, the convicted felon behind this fraudulent movie. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for all of you right-wing morons out there that would quote this movie, you need to watch 2000 Mules. I've interviewed idiots on this show. You need to watch 2000 Mules. It proves that the 2020 election was stolen. You clowns, you fools, you boobs, you MAGA morons who all wear the Donald Trump knee pads. Well, it turns out that a conservative group called True the Vote behind this movie said in a court filing, because there are lawsuits involved now, that it doesn't even know the identity of its own anonymous sources who allegedly told the story of ballot trafficking, that scheme that allegedly organized by a network of unnamed groups paying $10 per ballot. Well, guess what? It turns out they have no evidence, and they admitted that in court filings. They have no evidence of widespread voter fraud, and they have no evidence even to the claims that they made in this stupid movie that was fictional. So for all of you morons out there that buy it, and you buy the comments of Donald Trump, do you remember Carrie Lake? Carrie Lake, by the way, is still on the tour of claiming that the 2020 election was stolen, and she recently did an interview on CNN, and she continues to quote 2000 Mules, and she continues to lie about the 2020 election. Here's just a small tidbit of that.
Saying that.
Well, there's plenty of evidence. We had 740,000 ballots with no chain of custody. Those ballots shouldn't have been counted. We had election
Where is the
laws
evidence
and
of that?
Dana, there's plenty of evidence. You can find it. I'm happy to send it to your team. The problem is the media won't cover it.
Oh, by the way, Carrie Lake never sent any of that evidence to the CNN team because Carrie Lake is a liar and a despicable human being. True the Vault also told the courts it doesn't have any documents about illegal ballot collection either, or the name of its purported informant or confidential agreements it previously said existed. They lied. Their records were subpoenaed by the state election board back in 2022. The entire 2000 Mules movie is a big lie. It's not a documentary. It's a fictional lie. That's what it is. And you have all these idiots out there like Kerry Lake and you right-wing fools out there that don't have a brain that bought into this nonsense. That movie is a farce. And should we be shocked, even though I called it a farce from day one, should we all be shocked that the man behind this movie, the convicted felon Dinesh D'Souza, who went on social media when Barack Obama was president, constantly calling him a Negro? Should we be surprised that that's the same guy that claimed that this movie is the real deal? Yeah, there are people that endorse this sort of stuff. And the Charlie Kirks of the world, the Sean Hannitys of the world, the Laura Ingrams, the Brian Kilmeades, are they going to be talking about this liar, this FBI informant liar? Are they going to be covering that story? Are they going to be covering the 2000 Mules story that has turned out, proven now, to be a total farce with no evidence of anything that they discussed in the movie? Are they going to be covering that? Are they going to be criticizing Vladimir Putin for the murder of Alexei Navalny? Are they going to be covering any of these stories that, of course, make Donald Trump look bad, that, of course, make the Republicans look bad? No. And I go back to what I said earlier. What are they going to be covering today and tomorrow and Sunday and Monday and Tuesday? They're going to be covering the sex life of Fani Willis. And let me be very clear on this. It doesn't change the evidence against Donald Trump in this case. It doesn't change the fact that Donald Trump and his crony associates tried to overturn the outcome of a free and fair election. We have fake electorate schemes all over the country. Right here in Nevada, Mike McDonald, Jesse Law, Mike McDonald, the Republican chair, indicted for a fake electorate scheme, among others. Oh, sure, they pled not guilty. Oh, yeah, they're innocent until proven guilty, even though they pled the fifth to the FBI. And it was Donald Trump himself who said, if you plead the fifth, you're probably hiding something. You're probably guilty. It was Donald Trump who said that. By the way, Donald Trump has pleaded the fifth over 500 times in the last couple of years. Don't you find that interesting? These right-wingers out there, they're not going to be covering these stories. They might have a sentence or two about Alexei Navalny. There'll be no criticism for Vladimir Putin. I guarantee you. You think Clay Travis and these right-wing bozos are going to go after Vladimir Putin and call him the evil, murderous dictator that Joe Biden has done? Do you think Donald Trump will hold a press conference today or even go on his live social and even echo, even close to what Joe Biden said today in blaming Vladimir Putin for the death of this hero, Alexei Navalny, who is a hero? Do you think that Trump will be making any statements about this man's death? I would be willing to bet the answer is absolutely not. Are they talking about the real issues facing the American people? Gun control, for example? Mass shootings across this country? Are they talking about those issues or the right to a woman's own health care and a right to her own body? Are they talking about those issues? Of course they're not. I'll take a few phone calls now. Do you care about Fani Willis's sex life? I can tell you right now, I don't. I mean, we can talk until the cows comes home about Donald Trump's infidelities. It's not against the law. And that's very different, by the way, than somebody having sexual relations with a colleague. Doesn't change the facts in this case. Doesn't change the fact that Donald Trump and his associates tried to overturn the outcome of a free and fair election. Doesn't change the facts. Doesn't change the facts that Donald Trump is facing 91 felony counts. Number to call, 702-221-7283. And again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Coming up here in just a few minutes, we're going to be speaking with an eyewitness to the shooting that took place, the Kansas City Chiefs parade. Yes, that's another story that we need to talk about and continue to cover and talk about, which is guns and the obsession with guns in this country. Yes, we need to continue to cover these topics, continue to talk about them. I am not interested in the sex life of Fani Willis. I am not. Maybe you are. I'm not. If you want to talk about the sex life of Fani Willis, let's talk about the sex life of Donald Trump. If you really want to get into the weeds with me, I'm happy to do that with you. Doesn't change the facts in this case. Doesn't change the fact that Donald Trump is the one on trial, not Fani Willis. But if you watch Fox News and Newsmax and OAM, they're going to be going into Fani Willis's sex life until the cows come home. Why is that? Why is it that when you turn on Fox News, all you'll see is them showing clips of black people committing crimes? Why is that? Why are they obsessed with Fani Willis's sex life? Why do they portray black people as criminals? Why is it that Fox News plays these clips over and over and over again? Why is it if you go on Charlie Kirk's Twitter page today, he's not going to be talking about this lying FBI informant that lied about the Bidens? Oh, no. He's not going to be going after Vladimir Putin for the murder of Alexei Navalny. Oh, no, he's not going to be talking about that. Absolutely not. I mean, is he going to be talking about how 2000 Mules, a movie that he endorsed, by the way, and still does, is he going to be talking about 2000 Mules? Is he going to be talking about how it's all now been debunked? Really? Is he? No. He's going to be talking about Fani Willis's sex life. Why are Republicans obsessed with Hunter Biden's penis? Why are Republicans obsessed with Fani Willis's sex life? Why are Republicans obsessed with drag queens? Why are Republicans obsessed with homosexuality? Why? Why do they seem to be the ones obsessed with these sorts of issues that most Americans don't care about? Answer that question for me. Why? Why are Republicans obsessed with the wrong topics, ladies and gentlemen? They don't want to talk about Donald Trump. They don't want to talk about January 6th. They don't want to talk about the fact that 2020 was a free and fair election. They don't want to talk about how the economy has been headed in the right direction for the last 18 months. They don't want to talk about inflation down, unemployment way down, wages way up. They don't want to talk about any of these topics. Again, they want to talk about Fani Willis's sex life. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. Let's go to Gary. Carrie is next on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Carrie.
Hey. So first of all, I wanted to start off that I don't support Trump and everything like that, what's going on with that. But the whole thing that I feel like with the Fani Willis thing that I do think is important is there is things that are wrong with what happened. Like he is profiting, money was misused, and she lied. So, like, I think when you say some of the stuff like this,
what did she lie about?
Like when the relationship started, as also saying do you really think she's always giving them cash and refund?
How do you know?
I don't. I don't.
Okay, so
I'm not saying I know.
Okay, so let's go with that. If you don't know when the relationship started, then why would you claim she's lying about when the relationship started?
Well, there is people saying that it started in 2019.
And what people said that? Who said that?
Former coworkers, and again, they were disgruntled.
Okay,
and
so,
I get that.
So let's go back to.
That's why I
think
we do need the trial.
Okay, I get that. I get what you're saying, but let's be fair. You just made a claim that she's lying about when the relationship started, and then you just admitted to. I asked you where you're getting that information from, and you said, "Well, there were some disgruntled employees that claimed." That doesn't mean that she's a liar. Okay, but that doesn't mean that she's a liar. That hasn't been proven. Let's try to be factually accurate. I get what you're saying. There are people.
I agree what you're saying.
Okay,
what I'm saying is I think there just still needs.
Okay,
to be
so
a
listen,
trial
Carrie.
Something can't.
Carrie,
be proven.
Carrie, I don't disagree with you, right? I believe at a minimum she used very poor judgment, right? You don't want to have
100%.
You don't want to have sexual relations with a man that you're going to hire to run a case going after the former president of the United States. She made a mistake. There's no question about that. But the point that I'm trying to make, there's a couple points that I'm trying to make, and you can tell me whether you agree or not. Number one, it doesn't affect the evidence in the case, okay? Donald Trump is, right?
I don't think it does either.
Right.
I don't think it, but I think the problem is like that what happens now is that because of this miscommunication or her mismanagement of who she chose, it gives them validation to feel like, oh, they're so corrupt now because look what happened.
Yeah.
And like, to a certain extent, I feel it's almost impossible to have like always do the right thing. And and show that you're doing the right thing, and that's going to make them believe.
I don't think personally that this affects the case at all. I understand what you're saying. It's a distraction. It's a distraction,
yes,
and it
that's
gives
what I mean.
right, and it gives people on the far right an opportunity to attack her. I understand what you're saying. I don't disagree with you. All I'm simply saying is I could care less about her sex life. It hasn't been proven that she lied. It hasn't been proven that she received any funds or money. She received campaign donations, but nothing illegal. It doesn't
But
change.
what about her saying she kept campaign money, and she admitted that in court yesterday? I think it was yesterday.
So there was
and
so there was nothing proven that in her testimony that proved that she actually broke the law, and that's really what it comes down to here. I mean, we can talk about Donald Trump and the excess of $300 million that he received, claiming that he was receiving that money for to fight voter fraud, and we know he took 80% of that money and put it in his back pocket. But
100%.
Kerry,
I mean, well, I shouldn't say 100%. I don't know, but I just feel like the way, not that I'm saying you're doing it all the time, but sometimes it's portrayed.
Well, I'm going to tell you this.
Bad,
I'm going to tell you this.
Good.
I'm going to tell you this, Kerry. Donald Trump, breaking news, was just ordered to pay $364 million for fraud in this civil trial. But conservatives aren't going to want to talk about that. They're going to want to talk about Fani Willis's
let me ask you: do you not think that was excessive?
Here's what I do think is excessive. Donald Trump's behavior.
And I'm not saying
Donald Trump's. Well, I mean, I can answer you by his behavior in his life, the fraud that the way that he has lived his life. The chickens are coming home to roost, ladies and gentlemen. Now, whether I think it's excessive or not, the point is that he's going to be held accountable for breaking the law, doing the things that he's done, and I think that is a good thing for the country. But I do appreciate you call. You bring up some very good points, Kerry.
Can I say one more thing?
Quickly, go ahead. Quickly. Yep.
Sorry about that. When I was saying the excessiveness, if it was I'm not saying, I don't know what the number would be, but when you make it excessive, again, it gives the right that they're just going after him again because of this, and it's enormous money that obviously he's probably never going to pay her, and that's what I mean by it.
Well,
you're doing
claims,
it to do it, not because you think.
He claims he has enormous amounts of money, so now he's going to have to pay up. That's my response to that, but I appreciate your call.
I feel like it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the call. I got to get to some other callers real quick, and then I got to take a break, but I do appreciate your call, and you made some good points there. Thank you. Let's go to Steve. Steve is next on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Steve. What's going on?
Hey, good morning. I don't get a chance to hear the show very often, but I've caught it the last couple of days. You're leaving out so much stuff that it's mind-boggling to me that nobody challenges you on.
Okay, so tell me.
What about the video? The video today that shows the Russian spy begging the CIA or begging people for $10 to $20 million to get something going in Russia to overthrow Putin. Blackmail.
You're talking about a Russian spy. You do know what the big story is coming out of Russia today, right? You are aware of.
Yeah.
Okay, you're kind of leaving that out, aren't you? That's kind of a big story, don't you think?
No, not at all. I mean, there's video this morning of, you've seen it. Don't tell me you haven't seen it. And
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I know what you're talking about. The biggest stories that are coming out today, right? Donald Trump, $360 million he has to pay up. That just broke. Obviously, the story about the former FBI informant, that's a big story that's come out in the last 24 hours. Alexei Navalny being murdered. I think we all could agree what happened there. That's kind of a big story. So I'm sorry if I'm not picking stories that don't entertain you. It's not that I'm intentionally leaving things out, sir. These are the biggest stories of the day.
You are too.
Okay.
You're a blowhard.
Gotcha. So now you're gonna do name calling. You don't want to have a reasonable conversation. You're just gonna call me names.
I've listened to you for 10 minutes.
Gotcha. Why am I a blowhard? Okay. Why am I a blowhard? What have I said on the show today that would lead you to believe I'm a blowhard? What did I say that's factually inaccurate?
Do you honestly believe that Trump's going to pay that $364 million?
Okay. Did I say that Trump was going to pay it? Did I say that on the show, sir?
You did.
Oh, I did?
You said
Okay,
it
sir.
once.
Here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to get the MAGA wax out of your ears, and I want you to listen because clearly you're not capable. Here's what I've said. He's held to account in a court of law, and he was ordered to pay. I never said on this show he was going to pay it. And by the way, whether he pays it or not, the point being is that he's being held accountable. So, sir, would you like to give me another example? Hold on, I'm asking you a question now. Since you called me a blowhard, What have I said on this show that is not accurate? Because you just said something and misquoted me. I never said he was going to pay it. I said he was ordered to pay it. Sir, do you not understand the difference between being ordered to pay something and actually paying it? Do you not understand the distinction there? Or do I need to explain that to you?
No, you don't have to explain anything
Okay,
to me.
thank you, Mr.
Please.
Blowhard. Thank you, Mr. Blowhard. Is there, hold on. Oh, keep him on. Don't hang up on him. Mr. Blowhard, is it okay if I call you that? What else have I said on this show? What else have I said on the show that you think is inaccurate? Would you like to misquote me again, Mr. Blowhard?
What time do you start?
Are you seriously? Are you? I'm asking you for another example. Don't get wise with me, pal. You called me the blowhard. Give me another example. You failed miserably in the first one. Okay, so give me another example. You have the floor, sir. Mr. Blowhard, welcome back to Pushing the Limits. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Every single thing that you've said since I got in my car
Be specific.
is total BS.
Okay, so be specific. What did I say that's BS? I'm giving you the example. You have the floor. What did I say, quote, that was BS? Go ahead.
All the things you've said about Trump today.
No. All the things is not specific. I want you to be saying all the things is not specific. I'm now asking you for a fifth time. You said all the things I say are BS. Give me one example of something specific I said that's BS. I'm now asking you for a fifth time.
Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make a list over the weekend.
You're a frickin' idiot. Get lost, pal, you blowhard. That's what these MAGA morons do. They call into this show. Everything you've said about Trump is a lie. Oh, really? Can you name me one lie? You just made yourself look like the ass that you are, blowhard. Yeah, I think we all know who the real blowhard is there. You said that Donald Trump has to pay them. No, I didn't. I never made that claim. I said he was ordered to pay, stupid. God, these people that call into the show, they're just mesmerizingly ignorant. It's just unbelievable. Hey, here's an idea. If you want to call into this show and call me a liar or say everything I say about Trump is BS, like this buffoon who just called in, give me a specific example. How about that? Thank you for the call, though, Mr. Blowhard. We appreciate you showing your ignorance on the air for everybody throughout the country to hear. 702-221-7283. We're going to change topics real quickly. I want everyone to remain on hold. Our phone lines are completely full, as they always are on this show. I promise you I will take more calls on the other side. Even blowhards can call into this show. But what we are going to do next is we're going to take a break, but this is a really important topic. Everybody on hold, sit tight. I promise I'll get to all your calls. We know what took place in Kansas City. Horrible shooting that took place. A woman losing her life. Kids were shot. Terrible. But I want to get a firsthand account of what took place that day. And coming up next, a young lady by the name of Madison Askew will be joining us. She was just feet away from where this shooting took place. I can't imagine how scary that must have been. She's going to be joining us next and tell us what she saw. We'll take more phone calls on the other side as well. Sit tight. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. Boy, a lot of stuff in the news, and I promise we'll get back to your phone calls here in a few minutes. We're talking, of course, about the 2000 Mules lie in a courtroom. Those behind the movie said they have no proof of any widespread voter fraud, and it was a bunch of lies. We have this FBI informant who now knowingly lied about President Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Of course, Alexei Navalny news is just really, really sad. But, we're still covering this shooting that took place at the Kansas City Chiefs parade. I cover, shootings across the country. It's sad. It's tragic. And just because you aren't physically injured doesn't mean that it doesn't affect you. The lady we have with us on the line right now was celebrating the Kansas City Chiefs parade with her friends. And she was just a few feet away from where the shooting took place. Her name is Madison Askew, and she joins us right now. Madison, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. I wish it was under better circumstances. How are you?
I've been better. Like, I've been through like a lot myself, so it's like
Mhm.
I can deal with this, but it's
Right.
still a lot to go through, like,
I
and
can only
observe.
I can only imagine, and I appreciate you taking the time to join us. So let's just start with the day that took place. You wake up, you're just planning to celebrate the parade with your friends. Is that
No, yeah,
accurate?
because we all work at the same restaurant, and we were so excited to go because we had all never been to a parade or a rally. Because me personally, it was never in my schedule to go, so I was really excited to go. I vlogged the entire like trip up there, but it feels wrong to post it now. Like, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
post it at all.
of course. I mean, I don't blame you. Take me to the moments where you realized, uh-oh, something's wrong. The moments leading up to the shooting. Where
So it was
exactly were
like,
you?
sorry, it was just like even before the shooting even happened, it was the vibe there was insanely just tense. Nobody would talk to like nobody was nice to anybody there. My
Hmm.
friends and I were just trying to get up close and honestly down to where it honestly ended up happening because we just wanted to get a drink, but we were stuck on the staircase behind the tree. And if like you watched like any of it on like television, you see the guy in the tree. Like I was right behind that dude,
Oh, wow.
and
So
we
you're
tried to
really
leave.
close.
We were so close, and we were trying to leave. It was right after Travis got done talking, and I was like, I think that was the end. So we were trying to beat the traffic, and we were walking through the
Right.
grass, and I could look over it, and it was just all these people, and then I heard the pops, and everybody thought it was fireworks, and I just moved back from Baltimore, Maryland, and that was not a firework in broad daylight, absolutely not.
So
Um,
you know right away something's very wrong, and you suspect that it's gunfire.
Yeah, I was holding my friend's hands and like that my hands were shaking because I knew what it was because my ex, I have a lot of like gun knowledge because my ex was a gun lover. So I just have all of like the information. I know what it sounds like, I know what to do. And
Mm.
when I heard it, I looked to where I thought it came from and all I saw was just smoke and I saw people just running. I saw people falling and I was just like, that is either if that's a firework, something horrendous just happened down there, but I'm
So
not buying it's a firework.
you see people running. You're obviously knowledgeable enough with guns to realize that, hey,
No,
that
yeah.
those aren't fireworks. That's a gun. Do you start running as well? What do you start doing?
I honestly I couldn't even start running because my friends they were trying to like use like the restroom and I didn't want to be that guy that was like we need to hurry it up because I didn't want
Right.
to cause them panic if it wasn't like a gunshot if it really was a firework I didn't want to be the person to
Mhm.
ruin the day's vibe but I was just like we should go it's time to go we
Right.
can't go
I
we don't
would.
have to go home but we cannot stay here.
Did you
uh,
see any of the suspects at all? Did you see anything specifically as far as that goes?
my friends and I were like because before like it even happened, my friends and I was watching, we were able to watch one of the dudes just like pick his gun up and just start shooting like at the dude. And unfortunately, it was like the spray got the crowd. But it's just like it's the principle that of why did you bring a gun to a Super Bowl parade? What were you expecting to happen?
Right. No, I agree with you. You had mentioned that was it your ex-boyfriend that was kind of like a gun lover? Do
Yeah,
you?
my ex, yeah, he had a
Yeah.
whole wall of guns, and he was very much like I'm very knowledgeable in gun safety. I know how
Right.
to be around guns. I know because he
Yeah.
always had his guns locked and loaded and ready to go in case
Do you
someone broke
feel
in.
like Madison, that we live in a country that is obsessed with our guns and we have a
Yeah,
gun problem in this country? Would you agree with me that we have a gun
100%.
problem? Yeah.
100% because my ex, not only was he like, I get it, it's in the Constitution, you can have guns. I'm not trying to
Right.
yuck your fun. Like, I'm really not. But
Right.
I just wish people who weren't absolutely insane were able
Mhm.
to get these guns so easily because
Right.
it's so easy to get guns in Missouri. And I don't think people quite realize that You don't need I have it written down. You don't need a permit to purchase, registration, licensing of the owners, or permit to carry a shotgun, rifle, or a handgun in the state
Thanks
of
to your
Missouri.
governor. I wanted to ask you about that.
I do
Your
not like
governor,
Mike Parsons. I
you
was
know what?
definitely one of the people booing him when he got on
You
stage.
are one of many, by the way. Your governor doesn't seem to be very popular unless you're a MAGA Republican. I find it interesting, and by the way, I'm not defending, in fact, the opposite of which, the people who committed these violent crimes in Kansas City. I don't care whether they're juveniles or not. I want them in jail for the rest of their life. I'm very clear on that. But with that being said, I find it interesting because regardless of color of skin, your governor called them thugs. And I say to myself, if they were MAGA supporters or white, would he have also called them thugs? What do you make of that?
I do find the word choice a bit odd because you're a government official. You should know what certain words, especially at his big grown age, he should know what certain words, like the connotation behind them in regards to a certain group of people.
And didn't talk about guns. He didn't talk about guns at all.
Also that he didn't at all talk about guns. Missouri is a crazy state to live in because it's like you have to be 21 to buy a handgun. And that's very important because these were not people who were over 21.
Right.
But in the state of Missouri, like illegal gun sales aside, like I don't know how they got their guns, but you can be gifted a handgun if you're under 21, if someone over 21 buys it for you and just transfers the ownership, which is a very weird loophole.
Right. It is. It's Madison. What does it say about our society? I mean, you lived through this, where you wake up and all you want to do, I would imagine, is celebrate your team's victory. And I think that's great. And people are there to have a good time. You and your friends celebrate the Kansas City Chiefs, a great team, winning the Super Bowl here in Vegas. And then you end up going home and you learn of a mother, a local DJ there, right, who lost her life, a mother of two. Half the people that were shot were kids. I mean, what type of country are we living in now where you have to be scared or worried to even go to a celebration like that?
I'm honest, like me, because I'm here talking to you. I'm obviously okay, like physically. I just feel it's weird. I feel bad that I didn't get trampled or I didn't get shot because it's just like most of those little kids there were there to either see their favorite player or they were just there to perhaps see Taylor Swift. And I feel so awful for them because they just wanted to have fun and they left that event traumatized, like absolutely traumatized because they went in an ambulance.
You're so right. You're so right. Just because you weren't shot, and obviously my heart goes out to everybody that was injured, doesn't mean that this still doesn't affect you for the rest of your life. And you're absolutely right. There's so many kids and people there that I would imagine they would have tremendous PTSD. It's just so horrible. It's such a tragic story. And I think we just need better leadership there. And I'm sorry that you had to see some of those things and your friends had to see some of those things. Thank God you're okay and your friends are okay. But boy, my heart pours out, as I'm sure yours does as well, to the woman who lost her life, her family, and all those children and all the people that were affected. It was supposed to be a day of celebration and happiness and maybe having a few adult beverages and having a good time and celebrating your team's win. And unfortunately, the story now, and even a lot of the Kansas City Chiefs players and coaching staff are talking about this shooting. Now it's turned into a tragedy. I mean, it's so horrible.
I don't think like the rally should have been opened to like just the free public. The parade and the rally are very different. I feel like the parade, since it goes through town, anybody could have came to that. But I think it's absolutely insane that there was over 1 million people in Kansas City that day. And the rally was just open to anybody. And there was 800 cops for over 1 million people. That is not like a good amount. Like you needed more like police of like presence. They were more concerned about these people that tore down a fence that was around the fountain than they were that's what it seemed like to me because they got down there quick as.
No, you're right. And it's an open carry area, so you have 1 million people. Anybody could have legally been holding a weapon. You did have 800 officers.
You can conceal carry in Missouri too,
right,
without a permit.
And the good guys. Well, I will say this: there were some heroes that day, particularly the people that jumped on top of one of the shooters. Absolute heroes, right?
No, for real.
But at the same time, people died. A woman died that day. Many people were shot. You had a lot of police officers there. The argument which you're making could be true. Maybe you needed more police presence, but with that being said, it's still such a huge problem in this country. Let me just say this. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that you and your friends had to see that. And like I say again, my heart goes out, but it's not enough. we need action. And I know you agree with me on that. We need action. We need better laws put in place. Your governor is just despicable as far as I'm concerned, a despicable coward. And we know we need more people like you speaking up and speaking out on that. I'm glad you're okay, Madison. I really am. And thank you for sharing your story. My heart goes out to everybody there in Kansas City, and be well. I appreciate you taking the time to join us. And anytime you'd like to come back on, just let my producer know. Okay.
Oh, it's funny that I went live on TikTok just to talk about it, and it's so funny that not funny. It's so like crazy because I've followed this Facebook page for like ever, and I was like, what? I was like, this one? What?
Oh, you mean the Occupy page? Oh, that's cool. I'm glad you do. Hopefully now you can be a fan of the show and call in anytime too, Madison. But I appreciate you taking the time to join us. I really do. Thoughts and prayers. I know that those are words that are used a lot by people on the far right that are, but my heart really does go out to that city and people like you and all those that are affected. Please be safe. Okay, Madison. And I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much.
Very welcome. Have a good day.
Thank you, Madison. You as well. Madison Askew, everybody. She was just a few feet away from the shooting. Thank God she's okay. I'm on her side. You could hear the frustration and the anger. I share it with her. What have we been covering today besides the shooting that took place in Kansas City? I promised I would take phone calls. Obviously, Fani Willis, Republicans seem to be obsessed with her sex life and the size of Hunter Biden's penis. But there are more important stories, ladies and gentlemen. For example, this FBI informant, former FBI informant, the star witness for those on the far right, star witness, a proven liar now, lied about President Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. You won't hear Sean Hannity talking about this story anymore. Geez, I wonder why. He led with it so many days. And this jailed Russian opposition figure who I would call a hero, Alexei Navalny, dead. Murdered by the Kremlin. Let's call it for what it is. Joe Biden blamed Vladimir Putin for it, rightfully so. Why won't you hear Donald Trump and the far-right Republicans? Why? Because they're pro-Vladimir Putin, who is the next Adolf Hitler, ladies and gentlemen. I don't use that word lightly. Vladimir Putin is a wannabe Adolf Hitler. And then the 2000 Mules movie, where the creators of it, in a courtroom, in documents, said they really had no evidence of widespread voter fraud. They have no evidence of anything. The entire movie was a lie. But idiots like Carrie Lake will still say that the 2020 election was stolen. Let's go to the phone lines now. I promised you I'd get to those phone calls. And by the way, Madison, what a nice, lovely lady. I really appreciate her taking the time to join us and telling us what she saw in that just tragic events that took place in Kansas City. 702-221-7283. Why don't we go to Tanya? Tanya is up next on Pushing Limits. Tanya, thank you for waiting on hold. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you, Brian?
I'm good, Tanya. What's on your mind?
So many things. I just want to say to, I know she's not listening, but it's such a tragedy about Alexei. It's such a tragedy. And I heard this morning, I didn't know the man or anything, but I admire him. Tears just came to my eyes. I'm like, oh, no, oh, no.
It's horrible. It's horrible. And we knew this was going to happen. We knew eventually it had to happen. They've tried to kill him before, and they got him when he was in prison. They murdered him. Yeah.
He's an hero because just the day before, we were watching him in court, and he was laughing, he was talking and all of that, and all of a sudden he just died just when the election is coming up.
They murdered him.
Because, they said an election is coming up, but what kind of election is that going to be?
These are the types of people. Why is it that these are the types of people that some people on the far right look up to? The love letters that Donald Trump wrote to Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin, the Tucker Carlsons of the world, who seem to attack. They seem to want to attack Zelensky in Ukraine and call them Nazis. But when it comes to Vladimir Putin in Russia, they seem to be so nice. Joe Biden today was up on a stage and he showed leadership once again. He's called Vladimir Putin a dictator. And today he blamed Putin for this death of Alexei. And why is it that nobody on the far right will do the same? Why?
I don't know. You got to ask them. They're just going to talk about Fani Lewis.
Right. They want to talk about
Fani Lewis.
Fani Lewis's sex life. Next, Marjorie Taylor Greene will be showing naked pictures of Fani Willis like she did with Hunter Biden, because these are the issues they care about. Yeah.
I know. And the funniest thing is that they haven't found, she's not on trial. This is just a hearing.
She is not. Donald Trump is.
Right. they're behaving like she's on trial.
Yeah.
And what she did, she kept her private life private, and she did that for a reason.
Yeah.
But it is not something she should have done. She's human, and it already happened. She said they started the relationship when she said they started it.
Right.
Who are we to say it started another time?
I will
This
say
woman is independent.
I
she
don't,
has her own
yeah.
money.
So I'll say this.
And if they go on a date, she can pick up a tab as well, and he can pick it up.
I don't care when they had a sexual relationship. Here's the only thing I think where she used bad judgment. You shouldn't have hired this guy to take over a case against the former president of the United States, because she should have known that this was going to come out. So did she use some bad judgment? Sure, but it doesn't change the facts in the case. It doesn't mean that she and he are not capable of doing their jobs, but it's just an opportunity. Right, but it's just an opportunity of the far right. Let's forget about Donald Trump and the 91 felony counts that he's facing. Let's go after a powerful black woman. I mean, it's par for the course for these MAGA Republicans. I appreciate the call. It's good to hear from you. Thank you so much. I got to get to some other callers. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Roy. Roy is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Roy. What's going on?
Oh, shit, I got disconnected.
No, you're good. You're good. We got you. Sorry. That was on our end. What's up, Roy?
Oh, hi, Brian. How are you today?
Doing okay, Roy. What's on your mind?
Okay, first, did anyone ever hear of Clarence Thomas talk about conflict of interest?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
I mean,
point.
come on.
Yep. You're right.
That's
right.
the truth. If she were a man, this wouldn't even have happened. But
Let me ask you another question.
Story.
Let's forget about her being a man. If she was a white woman, would they be doing this to her? Just throwing that out there.
I don't know, because Trump is involved. You just don't know. I mean, it's him. So it's very hard to tell, because he'll do anything he can to protect his own butt. He doesn't care who he hurts. So it's hard to judge that. But when you think about Clarence Thomas, nobody on the right says a word about that nonsense.
No, I mean, his wife is an insurrectionist as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm with you 150%, but, they'll do anything to defend Donald Trump. I talked about this, Roy, to start the show. Sean Hannity gave this former FBI informant so much credibility. He did 85 segments on this story, 28 monologues. Do you think he'll lead the show today and say, hey, geez, you know what? I was wrong. It turns out this former FBI informant was lying about the Bidens. No, of course not. That's what these Republicans do. Clay Travis, when COVID first started, who replaced the cancer Rush Limbaugh himself, Clay Travis said, we're only going to get 20 cases of COVID. There's only going to be 20 cases of COVID in this country. Meanwhile, we've had over 1 million people die of COVID. Did Clay Travis ever go on the air and retract? When we heard all these conspiracy theories about Paul Pelosi, that was a gay relationship. He let that guy in that beat him with the hammer. It was Ted Cruz and Matt Gaetz who spread those conspiracy theories. After the police report went public, did they ever retract? Did they ever say, geez, you know what? I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. I was wrong. No, of course not. Because these despicable MAGA Republicans will spread conspiracy theories and lies. And then when it's overwhelmingly proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that they were wrong, they never own up to it. Never. Why is it the Democrats that always have to apologize and the Republicans never apologize and retract anything? Why is that?
Because the Republicans never have an agenda.
Yeah. Well, I think
only agenda is the nonsense that they spew.
I sense that your dogs are also not MAGA Republicans. They seem to agree with me.
No, they're very upset. They're very upset at what's happening today.
Understood. Hey, Roy, it's good to hear from you, my friend, and your dogs, by the way. Send them my regards.
Can I make one more? Can I
Sure.
bring up one more thing?
Sure.
It's very interesting. I read an interesting article today, and I know a lot of people are not thrilled with having Biden, and a lot of people, of course, are not thrilled with having Trump. But here's one big difference: if Biden is the president, even if he gets a little bit old and can't do all the things that you would like to see him do, he will have an administration that's capable of handling everything.
Yeah.
Trump will not. He will have an administration that's going to kiss his butt and say yes to everything.
That's obvious.
So it's not
That's
just about Biden versus Trump. It's about the Biden administration versus a potential Trump administration.
I agree.
That's a big difference.
Agree. It's a
People
important
should think about that as well.
important distinction. People should think about a lot of things, but those that are
Especially
watching,
those who think, well, maybe Biden's a little old,
Yeah.
but he's going to have people behind him who are going to take care of things the right way.
Roy, you're right. I appreciate your call, my friend, as always. Thank you very much.
Okay.
On the
You
right
take
side,
care.
on the right side of history. You too. 702-221-7283. 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Lori. Lori is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Lori.
Hi.
Hi,
I'm
Lori.
going to talk about the first caller.
Okay.
He made an assumption that she will never see that money. There's no she in this case.
Right.
This is a fraud case against New York and Donald Trump's taxes.
Correct.
And they will absolutely see every penny they can get out of him.
Yeah.
They will sell off his buildings. They will. He's got to pay at least $50 million to place a bond
it's a
to
court,
even appeal it.
You're right. It's a court order, and not only was the guy wrong, because I never said he will pay it. I don't know whether he will pay it or not. I would assume he will probably pay some of it.
He will be forced to.
Yeah, well, sure, it's a court order. I agree with you, but you have these MAGAs that call in that don't want to talk about anything of substance, and they want to make a claim that I said something that I never said. It's par for the course. Lori, I get this every day in my personal life and on the air for 20 years. Every day, people will say, Brian, you're a liar. And I don't attack them. I say, okay, let's go with that. What did I say that's a lie? And then this idiot who calls in will do what many of them do. He can't name one thing, and then he'll say, I'll come up with a list and I'll call you back. Because they're morons. They're morons, and they can't have a conversation with any bit of substance at all. But then again, if you're a huge Donald Trump supporter and you think he's the next Messiah, you're probably not a very intelligent person to begin with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this thing about Smirnoff being arrested and then Navalny, however you pronounce it, being killed. You can't tell me that guy wasn't a spy. That guy wasn't a Russian spy, and Putin got mad because we arrested him.
Oh, no question. No question. I agree with you. Listen, the bottom line is this. Vladimir Putin is Adolf Hitler.
And Congress is working with him.
You're right. Vladimir Putin is Adolf Hitler. You know, I respect Joe Biden. He's called Putin a dictator. He went in on a world stage today and blamed Putin, rightfully so, for the death of this man, Alexei. Donald Trump would never do that. In fact, Donald Trump was on a debate stage with it wasn't a debate stage. He was on a world stage 2 feet from Vladimir Putin, if you remember. And Putin was asked, did you interfere in our elections? Which, by the way, Russia did. Now, it probably didn't affect the outcome of the election, but they did. What did Trump do? He went against our own CIA and our own FBI, and he said, well, I have no reason to believe that they did interfere. That's who Donald Trump is. Joe Biden would never do that. Say what you want about Joe Biden. He wouldn't stand next to an evil, murderous dictator and kiss their ass. And I respect that about Joe Biden.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you.
And as far as
go ahead. Yep.
Fannie Willis is concerned,
yep.
You know to remember that they also attacked the judge first. They went after him and Fannie.
Right.
That they had a relationship, some sort of work thing going on. You know, not necessarily a sex relationship, but
right.
You know, they were friends. You know, they worked in the same place.
Here's the bottom line.
He didn't do a hearing on that. Why is he doing a hearing on this?
MAGA Republicans don't want to hear this. Regardless of what sexual relations Fannie Willis had with this man, it doesn't change the evidence. And Donald Trump and his cronies trying to overturn the outcome of a free and fair election. Good to hear from you. I appreciate the call, Lori. Thank you so much, okay?
All right. Bye.
Take care. Have a good Friday. 702-221-7283. I believe Lance is next on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Lance.
Yeah, I finally found you, Brian.
Well, I'm glad you did, Lance. How are you?
Great. I want to ask if I could permission to do the first verse of Why Don't You Practice Love Every Day? Would that be okay, or else I'll ask you a question?
Let's start with the question, and then I'll consider that. What was your question, Lance?
Okay. Well, the question is, if there were no guns, what do you think would happen?
Well, immediately you're saying, in a perfect world, if there were no guns tomorrow, was that kind of what you're asking me?
Yep.
Well, there wouldn't be any gun violence. I mean, that's the obvious, right? I think a lot of lives would be saved.
What's going on? What's going on in the UK, Brian?
What about the UK? What about it?
They use knives. They don't have. They have little or no guns, but except for the police and everybody else.
So Lance, help me out here.
There's a lot of so instead of a gun, you can use a knife. If you don't use a knife, and if you hit somebody, knock them out, and they hit their head on the ground.
Let's go with that for a moment. Were there any mass killings in this country with knives? Do you know of a story where over 60 people in this country died from a knife?
Not any mass killings, but there are.
No,
there are
the answer is no. Okay,
crimes
so in this country, knife killings compared to gun killings are 10-1. You could look that up if you don't believe me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Okay, so you're making the case for me then. You're making the case. I'm just trying to tell you. There's no. Can you give me a story of somebody that walked into a classroom with a knife and killed 20 or 30 kids? No, these are assault weapons that are being used. So I respectfully disagree with you. There's no correlation between a knife, which obviously can be used as a weapon. People die from stabbings, sadly, but there's no comparison between using a knife and using an AR-15 or an assault weapon. There's just no comparison, Lance. I'm sorry. I just disagree with that analogy.
Well, right now you're right, but one way or another, if somebody wants to take somebody out, they will find a way, whether they have a gun or not, and that's why I say.
So you're telling me you don't. We should
make love and control hate, not guns. It's hatred that causes the problem.
Okay, so you think that you don't have any problem with the guns that are being sold to the general public today? You don't think anything should be done?
I think everybody who buys a gun, they should have their picture and their fingerprints taken. But even if that would reduce it, there would probably always be illegal guns one way or another.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. God forbid, if you had a child or a grandchild that was in school, and God forbid, I would never want this to happen, but if you had a crazy person walk in there, would you rather have them have a knife or an AR-15?
Okay, so let me ask you this then. God forbid. Well, we know I'd rather have neither, but.
That wasn't.
If somebody hates somebody else, there are people now. If you say the wrong thing, they're going to try to take you out one way or another.
Okay, but that wasn't. But that wasn't my question, though. You have somebody in a hotel room in Mandalay Bay from several hundred yards away trying to kill a bunch of innocent people. You can't do that with a knife, but you can do that with certain weapons of war. I appreciate the call, Lance, and I appreciate you calling into the show. But with all due respect, there is no comparison or analogy between a knife and an assault weapon. I'm sorry, there's just not. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Armando. Armando is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Armando.
Oh, hi, Brian. I remember several days ago you talked about Russian space nuke hysteria sweeps D.C. And so I had to figure that out. And the person who made that statement was a top Republican committee chairman. His name is Mike Turner.
Okay.
And he claimed that there exists an immediate threat to national security.
Yes.
And soon after that, I think one of the security people in the Biden administration, Jake Sullivan, said, unfortunately, he made that statement because the following day we were going to have a meeting. Intelligence people, the Big Eight, Senate, House, and they were to discuss it. And he said, in the end, this is a long-term project for Russia. It is not an immediate threat. They are working on a project to, I think.
So what was your concern or question in regards to this?
Well, it is not a national security threat.
Okay, well, according to those in the CIA and the FBI, they disagree with you. They say it is.
Yeah. Well, military intelligence people, Scott Ritter, and I think the other one is McGregor.
Yeah.
They're saying that's baloney.
Okay, well, again, according to the CIA and the FBI and those that are working with this with more intelligence than you and I have, I
know.
They say that it is, and I can tell you right now, Vladimir Putin, just in general terms, is a threat to the world. He is a
one. Well, look, Jake Sullivan said that the threat is not immediate.
Do you
It's
believe?
a
Do you believe?
long-term
Let,
issue.
let me ask you a question. Do you believe Russia and the Russian government and Vladimir Putin is a threat to us? Do you think they're a threat to the world? Do you think Vladimir?
No,
Putin,
no, I don't.
you don't think Vladimir? Why do you say that? You don't think?
Because what's his name? One of your colleagues is what's his name? Turner. No, not Turner.
Not my colleague, but go ahead.
No, the guy who made the interview. What's his name?
Okay, well, let me. I'm just asking you though. You have a man who just invaded Ukraine. Okay, he invaded.
Well, you got to remember this. It was provoked.
Okay, so if you provoke something, that's a defense for going into another country and raping women and children?
No. I mean, they're never raping women and children.
By the way, I disagree with you that Vladimir Zelensky in Ukraine provoked Russia. I disagree with that premise, but that's not an excuse for what Vladimir Putin did. He invaded
Because he thought it was a non-existential threat to the security of his country.
Okay.
And
okay.
going
So
back to 2008.
So do you
he
disagree
wanted
with
a
me?
peace agreement.
Is Vladimir Putin an evil, murderous dictator? Yes or no?
No, that's the
Okay.
normal talking point.
I appreciate the call, sir. That's not a talking point, and you are very uneducated. Vladimir Putin has murdered and killed hundreds of thousands of his own people. He's murdered members of his family. He murdered Alexei Navalny. For you to say that Vladimir Putin is not an evil, murderous dictator is like saying Adolf Hitler is not an evil, was not an evil, murderous dictator. I'm sorry, sir. With all due respect, you are mistaken. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Joseph. Joseph is next on Pushing Limits. Hello, Joseph.
Yeah, hi. Hi. Listen, I saw your show yesterday about the Kansas City shooting. Makes me upset as more as you are. Makes me think that all these MAGA Republicans are doing is they're putting their money into the hands of the National Rifle Association, which explains why they don't want no gun laws or gun bans or red flags. It's almost as if they just want the National Rifle Association to be a stock market game.
Well, you're
And
right.
they're looking at those.
You're right.
They're looking at the map.
Yeah. Joe, I talk about this every day about how the NRA, you're right, is in the back pocket of these MAGA Republicans. What these MAGA Republicans choose to do is they choose that staying in power and getting an A+ rating from the NRA is more important to them than the safety and security of this country.
And not to mention, they're using the National Rifle Association, as a stock market game, and they're watching these people who are doing those mass shootings as consumer trainees, and it's making ordinary people like you and me, including those kids who got shot, to deal with them.
You're right, but isn't it interesting that these are the same people, they'll talk about the border crisis every day and how it's harming us and harming the country, yet at the same time they will not talk about gun control. They will not talk about the existential threat that is Vladimir Putin in Russia. You have people calling into the show saying that Putin is not an evil, murderous dictator, but yet these are the same people that want to talk about the border, and they'll call those that are seeking asylum more of a threat to this country than somebody like Vladimir Putin. How do you reason with these people?
I know. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Every time I hear about those MAGA Republicans, makes me want to open my window and just shout out that famous line from the movie called Network. Makes me want to yell that line. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Well, all we can do is take that anger, and I feel it. I understand where you're coming from, and do not vote for Donald Trump in November. That's all I can tell you. Let's get these people out of office. Let's end these MAGA morons and their careers. Let's get them out of office, and do not vote. If you want to vote for a Republican, that's fine, but don't vote for a MAGA moron, because they are deplorables. Hillary was right. They are deplorables. And, while Joe Biden is my first, second, or third pick, I won't even blink an eye. It'll be Joe Biden over Donald Trump as far as I'm concerned. And I appreciate your call, sir. Thank you so much.
You got it.
Appreciate you, my man.
You got it.
Thank you.
You got it.
702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Patrick. Patrick is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Brian. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of outrage about this Russian that died in a Russian prison, but I didn't hear much outrage about Gonzalo Lira, the Ukrainian or the American that died in the Ukrainian prisons for speaking his mind against the Zelensky regime. And I don't hear any outrage about the many Americans that are being jailed in Washington, D.C. courts and the many that have died.
So Patrick, here's my question. Here's my question.
By the Biden regime.
Here's my question for you, Patrick. Why does it always have to be whataboutism? Why can't you just start off by saying, well, listen, I feel for this guy, but I also feel for these people? Why can't you start off the conversation by saying, this guy Alexei Navalny He was against the Putin evil, murderous regime. It's terrible what happened to him. Are you not willing to say that?
Evil, murderous. What Americans has he ever killed? He's not responsible for killing any Americans. Zelensky is. Zelensky is
Okay,
responsible
you
for
do
killing
believe
journalists,
you do
American
believe
journalists.
you do believe you can be an evil, murderous dictator without killing an American. You do understand that's not the definition. You don't have to just kill an American to be defined as an evil, murderous dictator. You do understand
Where did
that,
you come
right?
up with this term that you use that all the time?
Okay, so we
evil,
have
murderous
somebody else.
dictator.
So we have somebody else that's defending Vladimir Putin, sir. You're a classy guy. You're going to defend on this show. You're going to defend Vladimir Putin. Is that what you're going to do, sir? Is that what you're
going
prepared to do?
Zelensky, who's killed an American. Zelensky's responsible for killing Americans.
Where was
Putin
it? Okay,
hasn't killed
hold
an
on,
American,
hold
has
on,
he?
hold on. Let's
Has
go
he?
with that for a minute.
He hasn't.
Let's go with that. Where
Yeah,
was it
let's go with
proven?
that. Let's
In
go with
what?
that.
In what? Okay, shut up and listen, or I'm going to go to the next caller. Pot him down. See, it's my show, not yours, Patrick. You don't control the narrative, as you would like to say. In what court was it proven that Zelensky himself, because you mentioned his name, murdered an American? In what court was that proven, MAGA Patrick, who defends Vladimir Putin? I'd like you to answer that question for me now, if you may. Where was it proven?
Did he die in the Ukraine prison?
That wasn't my question. I asked you a very specific question, which you struggle to answer any specific question. The person who is now defending Vladimir Putin, who's literally murdered members of his own family. I'm asking you by the way, there's a reason why in Russia, I have friends that live in Russia. I have friends in Vegas, families live. Excuse me, I'm not done yet. I have people who live in Vegas, families in Russia, that if you even text somebody anything negative about Vladimir Putin, they will come to your house, they will put you in jail, and in some cases, they will kill you. Now, I know you're ignorant to facts, Patrick. That's okay. I'll speak slowly for you, sir. Where is the evidence put forth in a courtroom that Zelensky murdered an American citizen? I'm now asking you for a second time.
Zelensky did not go into a jail and murder somebody.
I'm now going to ask you one more time, or I'm going to move on to the next caller, because, Patrick, you are a waste of my time and all of my listeners that listen to your nonsense. You just said that Zelensky himself murdered an American. If that's the case, Patrick, where in a court of law can we find that, where it was proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that the president of the Ukraine killed an innocent American citizen? It is the last time I'm going to ask you, and I would like a direct answer, please.
Zelensky regime is responsible for the
have a
death
nice day. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. You see, when you make a claim, MAGA Patrick, you have to have evidence to back it up. You see, in this country, Patrick, and in other countries, we have evidence that Vladimir Putin's evil dictatorship tried to poison Alexei Navalny. In fact, it was investigated by those that are not working for Vladimir Putin that they poisoned his drink as he was getting on an airplane. There are many of instances of Vladimir Putin evidence that he actually murdered his own people. There are laws set forth in that dictatorship where if you speak out against Vladimir Putin, even in a text message to a family member, that they will come to your house and they will arrest you and put you in jail. But the fact that you can't even admit on this show that Putin is an evil, murderous dictator, and you'll actually defend him, says all we need to know about you, Patrick. Have a nice day. 702-221-7283. Who do we got? Albert? Albert, is Albert saying that I'm an idiot? Okay. Albert, what's going on?
Don't take this the wrong way.
Okay, well, Albert's the idiot. I understand. Thank you. Thank you,
every
Albert.
prank that I played on you, only blue or blue.
Albert, what song is that from? Is that? Did you forget to take your medication today? I was actually going to let him go a little bit because he could carry a tune. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. He sounded a little bit like Roseanne Barr when she sang the national anthem. They could do a wonderful duet together. 702-2. Oh, boy, here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Who are we going to next? Should we go to Edward next? All right, we'll go to Edward next. What's up, Edward?
What court said Putin was a killer?
What court said Putin was a killer? Well, I can give you multiple courts that said Vladimir Putin actually has committed genocide and Vladimir Putin actually has committed atrocities. Would you like me to go through that with you, sir?
What court?
Gotcha.
What court?
So I will give you multiple courts, but to start the conversation, I just wanted to ask you a question,
court?
if I may.
What
sir,
court?
you see, sir, if you keep saying that, I'm going to hang up on you. We're going to have a conversation, and you're not going to do that. So, sir, have you heard of NATO before? Have you heard of them before? Have you heard of NATO?
Clown.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're going to call me a clown, and you're not going to answer my question. Have you heard of NATO, sir? Have you heard of investigations, sir, that have been proven that Vladimir Putin invaded another country and has committed genocide? Have you heard of NATO at all, sir? Does that ring a bell at all? Because, see, sir, it's impossible to get Vladimir Putin in a courtroom to testify. Vladimir Putin will not leave Russia. So now I'm going to ask you a question, sir. Are you a defender of Vladimir Putin? Is Vladimir Putin not a dictator, sir? Are you, sir? Okay, so, sir, no, don't hang up on him because I want to prove how stupid some of these people are. I want to see if this guy on the line right now can articulate why he thinks Vladimir Putin is not a killer. Sir, are you capable of having a conversation? Are you capable of having a discourse on the air? That's my first question to you, sir. Would you like
just said the
would you
Ukraine
like, sir,
president-
sir, I'm asking you a question. You don't answer it with a question. I brought up NATO. Clearly, you don't even know what they represent. So now I'm asking you a question. Please articulate why you defend Vladimir Putin. Go ahead, sir. I'll give you the opportunity, even though I'll probably regret it.
Why do you defend Biden?
Sir, you are comparing. That wasn't the question, by the way, about Joe Biden. But no, keep him on. Don't hang up on him. Don't hang up on this idiot. You are comparing Joe
No,
Biden.
I'll hang up on you.
Joe. Okay, yeah, you might as well hang up on him. That guy, you see, when I ask him a question, he's not smart enough to articulate it. Anybody who defends Vladimir Putin would. But then when I ask him why he defends Vladimir Putin, his answer is, why do you defend Joe Biden? He's comparing Joe Biden to the evil, murderous dictator in Vladimir Putin. Sir, I want you to look up NATO, and I want you to look up all the investigations that have taken place when it comes to Vladimir Putin. You see, Adolf Hitler didn't have to speak on a witness stand. There wasn't a trial involving Adolf Hitler either. But I'm pretty sure, sir, you're the type of person that would probably defend Adolf Hitler as well. Have a nice day, sir. You sound like a very intelligent person. 702-221-7283. I wish you good luck at your Klan rally tonight. Let's see. Who do we have next here? Rashana? Let's go to Rashana, who's next up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Rashana. What's going on?
Hello?
Yes. Hi, Rashana. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Okay, what my mind is that, I feel very sorry for our American brothers and sisters, who thinks Putin is like good, But as a new generation immigrants, we have faced a lot of things with the dictatorship, authoritarian regime back in our native land. We feel how bad it is, I feel very sorry because we have always, are on our freedom, in our soil, So we never know. We are just kind of simple, and then we follow some of like conspiracy theorists, But in a real general, the country I came from, that we face what the dictatorship is like that, Today, I felt very sorry, that we lost one of the great fighter in Russia,
Sure,
because of
sure.
this operation.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How do you respond to somebody, and I've had a couple callers today that are despicable, that defend Vladimir Putin? How do you respond to somebody like that who defends Vladimir? To me, it's like defending Adolf Hitler or Kim Jong-un. How do you respond to somebody who defends Vladimir Putin? I don't even know how to respond to these people.
Yeah, I don't want to go like a specific term to them, but they have never seen those kind of situation in our country here in United States, That's the reason they just assume. But once they go out of their den, they will see the world. They will find out the world.
Yeah, have them live in Russia.
My only response is that, guys, don't talk about like those kind of like a dictator, get out of the comfort zone, Once you come out of your comfort zone,
Yeah,
you will
it
see
is.
the real world. You will feel
Rashada,
the real
where are you
world,
from? Where are you from, Rashada?
my native land is Nepal, and we have gone through like a 10-year bloody civil
Where do you live
war,
now? Where do you live now?
I live in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Oh, okay. You live in Virginia. Well, listen, I'm glad that there are people like you out there that are successful in this country, and I'm glad you're on the right side of history and you see things as they are, and you're not complicit like some of these people calling in defending an evil, murderous dictator. It's really tragedy.
It's so sad,
It
It's
is.
so sad. Our mind has been occupied, like they occupied right now. They try to occupy the great country of. They try to occupy the Kyiv,
Sure.
They try to occupy so many things.
But they'll defend
because
Vladimir
our
Putin.
people, they don't travel,
Yeah.
Come visit me,
Yeah, well,
I'm pretty sure, I'll change your mind,
I
Just
hope
travel
so.
outside,
I hope
so.
so because it doesn't seem like I can change some of these minds, but I hope you can, and I appreciate your phone call, sir. You have a great Friday, okay? I'm glad there are people like you
You
out
too,
there.
sir. Thank you very
And
much.
I'm glad
Okay,
you
thank you,
and
thank you.
I am so glad there are people like you out there that live in this country, and God bless you. 702-221-7283. All right, I promised I would give Julie some time on the show. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Yes, hello, Julie. What's going on?
Hello, Brian, finally. Okay. Brian, do you know that Putin said that he prefers Biden to Trump? Do you know that he prefers Biden to win the election over Trump? Do you know that? He
Guess what,
recently
Julie?
said that?
Hey, Julie, guess what? Unlike you, I don't care what Vladimir Putin says. You know why? Because he's not trustworthy. He's a liar. And I tend not to believe evil, murderous dictators that kill members of their own family. Unlike you. Now, if you want to take credence on something that Vladimir Putin says, you can go ahead and do that. But you know what? I don't listen to people that also quote Adolf Hitler either, okay? Make no mistake about it. Vladimir Putin is Adolf Hitler, okay? If you live in Russia and you text something negative,
Hold on,
do you
hold on.
understand?
I know who Putin is.
Okay.
I know who
then
Putin
I don't,
is because I know history.
Then if you
I
know
how
then
war
let me ask you a
history.
question.
He's a-
Let me ask you a question.
he's a
Let me ask you a
communist,
question.
he's a
Let me ask you a
dictator,
question.
you don't have to
Let me ask you a
lecture.
question. Let me ask you a question. Thank you. Let's
Hold
come.
on,
Let's
take
hold
your
on.
meds.
Hold on. Take your meds. Hold on. Let me ask you a question. If you know who Vladimir Putin is, then why would you believe anything that he says? There's the question, Julie. Please answer it.
No, I ask you.
No,
what do you have
I
to say
ask
about
you.
Putin saying-
And I just answered
no,
you.
I don't believe,
And I just
I don't
answered you.
believe anything.
Okay.
I don't believe
Thank
anything
you.
from Putin.
We agree.
Because Putin,
We agree.
Putin is a communist. Putin is a dictator. Putin
Can I
is
ask you
a
another
dirty
question?
bastard.
I'm happy, Julie.
He
I'm
worked for the KGB.
Julie, I'm happy to hear you say that because
Okay.
Julie, we agree on that. I'm glad we agree on that.
Yes,
Very important. But let me
we
ask you.
agree
Let me
on
ask you another question. Why is it then that Joe Biden has called Vladimir Putin an evil dictator? Joe Biden has been on a world stage and called him that. Why is it that the person that you look up to, Donald Trump, has failed to call out Vladimir Putin for anything? Why do you think Donald Trump won't say what you just said? He won't call Vladimir Putin an evil dictator, a murderer. Why is it you think Donald Trump won't use that same verbiage? Why do you think that is?
Okay. You have read the sanctions that Trump imposed
Wasn't
on
my
Putin.
question. Wasn't my question. My
Okay,
question.
yes, let me respond.
Julie, my
I don't
question.
care
Julie,
what-
you're not
let me-
answering.
let me
Julie,
finish because
no,
you are asking.
you're not. Pot her down, Julie. I'm interrupting you because you're not answering my question. The question wasn't about sanctions. The question was, why doesn't Donald Trump call out Vladimir Putin for what he is? An evil, murderous dictator. Joe Biden today said that that Alexei Navalny death was a direct of Vladimir Putin. Why won't Donald Trump call out Vladimir Putin? That's the question. Not about sanctions. Please answer that question, Julie, because it's a very direct question.
I care about actions. Actions speak louder than words. And on the other hand, Brian, if you allow me to speak, okay? If you think that Vladimir Putin is expanding communism to Europe, right? It's what you think, right? Okay? Then why this country has never done anything at all to remove Diaz-Canel and Maduro that has been oppressing their people for many, many years? That's true communism. Please answer that to me. Go ahead.
Julie,
Go
the
ahead,
fact,
Brian.
Julie, the fact that you continually.
If you think this
All
word
right,
is
hang up,
because
hang up,
communism,
hang
you
up.
are
Goodbye. I let you talk, and then you just interrupt me as I begin to answer, Julie. This is typical of a MAGA Republican. Continue to defend Donald Trump. Let me tell you something, Julie. The words of a president of the United States are very, very important. I'll give you an example. January 6th doesn't happen if Donald Trump doesn't say the election was stolen. Any president of the United States, Republican or Democrat, should have the gall to speak truth when it comes to Vladimir Putin, who is an evil, murderous dictator. And the fact that you're okay with Donald Trump siding with Vladimir Putin speaks volumes about who you are. And I feel very sorry for you. I really do. All right, let's go back to the calls. Let's take a couple more real quickly. Who are we going to next here? Let's go to Kava. Kava's next. Hi, Kava.
Hello, Brian. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. A little frustrated, but I'm doing okay. Kava, how are you?
No, yeah. I was listening to everything that was happening.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. Vladimir Putin is nothing more than a piece of dog water that loves to cause as much chaos as he possibly can for his own selfish reasons. And he's even threatened my home country of Ecuador. I'm an immigrant to Ecuador, and I am so tired of that guy trying to take territory just because he thinks he's owed it.
Yeah.
He thinks that, because he has power, he can do whatever the hell he wants without a repercussion. But what he doesn't understand is that we have NATO, but we will blast the ever-loving crap out of it if he keeps it up. That's what he doesn't understand. People who sympathize with Putin, you are a complete lunatic.
Why is it
If
always
you
the
support
far
that
right?
guy-
I haven't really heard anybody on the far left that has been supporting Vladimir Putin or taking his side on anything. Why is it the far right?
Oh, I can tell you why. Because they love somebody who's a dictator. They love dictators. It's who they are as a party. It's who they are as people. And they don't have any kind of sympathy for people who actually want to change things. And I really can see, you know what happened here. They love to refuse government and then they love to blame the left for not doing things so that they can take credit for it. That's what these clowns do. They love it. They think it's funny. They think it's hilarious when it's not.
It's amazing. I have a guy calling up to the show and said, hey, Vladimir Putin wasn't convicted in a court of law, as if Vladimir Putin would ever come to this country and show up on trial in a court. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. So because Putin wasn't convicted in a court of law, that means he's not an evil, murderous dictator. I guess that means Adolf Hitler was innocent of all crimes as well. I mean, it's how do you reason with these people? You can't.
You can't.
Yeah.
There's no reason with them.
No, it's not.
I tried to have a conversation with a MAGA demon a couple of days ago, and it was about because they kept whining about the border. I'm like,
yeah.
You do realize the border isn't even open, and the fact you're whining about immigrants, you do more work than you.
They'll complain
says a
about
lot about who they are.
they'll complain about the border. And by the way, thank you for the call. I got to run to some other callers, but it's good to hear from you. I appreciate the call. These Republicans.
Thank you for your time, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate you. They'll complain about the border, yet they have no solutions. They'll complain about inflation, but they have no solutions. They'll complain about drag queen reading, yet they won't talk about gun control. It's par for the course for these people, and some of the people that are calling into this show are defending Vladimir Putin. I mean, at this point, if you defend somebody like Vladimir Putin, you have to be a MAGA supporter, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to Loretta. Loretta's next on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Loretta. Hi, Loretta. What's on your mind?
I'm calling because I want to talk about these mega mouthpieces and how we can shut them down.
Yeah.
Or at least make them accountable.
Yeah.
I believe we should demand a retraction, let's say like with the situation with the informant that has found to have been invalid.
Yeah.
And it's like, why won't they cover it? Why aren't we starting like a campaign to make them and Hannity and Laura Ingraham and all these idiots to retract these statements publicly?
They should have to, and I think there should be more lawsuits coming. The fact of the matter is that Fox News spreads propaganda and hatred on the air every day. Sean Hannity is a two-faced clown. Laura Ingraham is an evil, racist witch. These are very bad people.
Okay, name calling aside, Brian, it's like we have to organize. We have to
here's
be
the problem.
smarter than them.
But here's the problem. It's very difficult when somebody like a Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham make a lot of money for their network. and then they'll cry freedom of speech. It's very difficult.
Right.
It's very difficult to censor somebody unless you can clearly point out a blatant lie that affects people's lives. Now, you probably could with a lot of these hosts on Fox News, but it's very difficult to take down an empire. $800 million lawsuit, and they're still doing the same things.
Right, but we have to not let up, is all I'm saying. At this point,
absolutely.
if I was Hunter Biden, I would be demanding a retraction over and over and over from every one of these mouthpieces. The ones that don't, well, go ahead and pay Hunter Biden's tax bill, because then he has grounds to have a defamation suit.
Hey, listen,
against
I'm with
them,
you.
because
I'm not an attorney, but I am with you 150%. We want people to be held accountable, especially the blatant lies. It's different from having an opinion and just blatantly, knowingly lying. And Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham, they do those types of things every day. I got to run to some other callers real quickly because I have a guest waiting, but I do appreciate your call, and you please call back, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Good to hear from you. Who are we getting to next here? Let's go to James. James is next. I'm pushing the limits. I got about 1 minute for each of these callers, then I got to go. James, what's up?
Not much. Just I don't see how you put up with all this.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
I mean, they go down these right-wing rabbit holes, and they never come back out. And this is all the information they get, and so this is the way they live. But you can't change that, and all you can do is just keep on doing what you're doing. I'd like to talk about the border, though.
Sure.
The border. I was reading. Down in South America, there's a deal called, I think it's the Darien Gap, where all these people from around the world are coming. It's not people from South America. It's people being brought there and then come up, and they have the help of human rights people down there that give them money, they give them food, they give them clothing. They have doctors that help them along the way.
Yep.
They have help all the way up to our border.
Mm-hmm.
And they're coming from India, they're coming from Africa, they're coming from Pakistan, they're coming from all over the world.
The bottom
the
line.
border needs to be closed.
Yeah.
It needs to be closed.
I don't disagree with you.
Everything needs to be redone.
I don't disagree with you. I'm with you 100%. This is not a Republican problem. It's not a Democrat problem. It's an American problem, and we've had it for decades and decades. But here lies a bigger problem, and I think you'll agree with me on this. Democrats and Republicans came together. They come up with this bill. It's not perfect. Both sides say it's not perfect, but it's a start. And the reason why it's not going to be passed is because of the MAGA Republicans that listen to Orange Man, who doesn't want this bill to pass because they're out for Donald Trump, not out for the country. And until we get better people in office that want to do what's best for the country, not for their own interest, then things are never going to change at the border. That's my opinion.
Well, but you have to look at back. I mean, this goes back to Reagan in I think 1986.
Sure.
He had a right to work. I mean,
sure.
E-Verify that you had before you could get a job here, and over the course of 6 months after it was signed, they made it where they watered it down where you couldn't ask people if they were illegal aliens.
But I hear you, but the only way I hear what you're saying, and I got to run to some other callers, and I appreciate your call, James. The only way things are going to change at the border is if Republicans and Democrats are willing to work together and the MAGA Republicans stay out of it. That's the only way we're going to see improvements. A couple more quick phone calls. Nuna, I believe, is next. Hi, Nuna.
Hey, hi. How you doing, Brian?
Good.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about foreign policy here.
Okay.
So we got to pick our poison for the next election, right? We have so many issues right now.
Mm-hmm.
The gentleman before was talking about the border, but I think the biggest problem is going to come from foreign policy with everything that's going on in the Middle East. Because right now, things are coming to a boiling point, right, with everything going on in Israel and Palestine.
Yes.
So you have also the NATO is getting weaker. I understand what you're saying about Donald Trump, right? I never voted for the guy, but what choices do we have when we have a president who is completely oblivious to the bigger picture that is going on in the Middle East? Because Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, all these players.
Yeah.
They are just there because they are the puppets. They are our puppets.
If you listen to the MAGA Republicans, they'll lead you to believe that Jared Kushner did such a good job out there in the Middle East. Boy, he did such a great job, didn't he?
Of course not. He was there to take all the money. You know how much money did they got between his
over $2 billion.
Donald Trump's daughter? Oh, that
Yep.
you think just those were just probably what we hear about.
Jared
I'm not
Kushner
talking about
was
the
a
gifts.
failure. He's an idiot and a failure. All he does is spend his daddy's money. He received $2.1 billion from the Saudis.
Easily. If it's not more, if we're not talking about other like business, like hotels and all that.
Yep.
We don't know everything. We don't have the whole pictures because
Yep.
the Saudi obviously are not going to share their information. But this is the problem that we have right now. So you have, and just do that from Poland. He was saying that because Donald Trump, he says, hey, you want to blow up any country in Europe, go for it. I'm not here as long as they pay me. It's almost like a mafia kind of deal, right? You pay me and I protect you. You don't pay me, then screw you, right? So this is rocketing, and I think it's wrong. But on the other side, when I'm looking at what's going on with Russia, I totally agree with you with Russia. But we have to also understand that we have done wrong when it comes to NATO has also pushed the envelope because there was an understanding after the breakup of the old system, the Soviet Union. There was an understanding that they shouldn't crush into the border of Ukraine. There was a kind of an understanding, and
There
they kind of
wasn't.
underestimated.
I don't feel like we have an understanding now, and I feel
No,
like
we don't.
I feel like we're way too divided as a country, and I feel like
Yes.
we're in a situation now where we're so divided, and people care more about staying in power and being in power and wearing the Donald Trump knee pads, for lack of a better term, than doing the right thing in the safe and security of this country and the world. And I appreciate your call, sir. I agree with everything you said. Very well spoken. And please call back again sometime soon, okay?
All right, take care.
I got to run. I got to grab one more caller, and then my lovely guest is waiting. So one more caller. Quickly, I got about 1 minute for Shay. Hi, Shay.
What's going on?
Not much, my friend. What's on your mind?
I'd like to talk about the gun reform. We just had that shooting in Kansas City. And I got to tell you something, Brian. I think the only way, these politicians are playing on a slippery slope, man. I think there's going to be a mom or a dad out here that is going to start. I think people are going to start shooting politicians, man. It seems like that's the only way that's going to get these gun laws changed.
Well, we obviously don't want that. We obviously don't want that to happen. I'm sure you don't want that to happen. At the same time, when you have somebody like Steve Scalise, who was shot and almost killed, he's recovering now, and yet that guy has the same position on guns that he had before he was shot. What can you do? What can you do?
Well, I tell you, what's your stance on the filibuster, Brian?
Well, I don't like it, obviously. I don't like it. I never have liked the filibuster. And I've always felt like there needs to be a certain time frame. In most cases, there are, where someone can speak, and that's it. And then we move on to the next person. It's like it's kind of like if I'm doing a radio show, I can't have somebody call in and keep them on the line for 20 minutes either. It's like I never liked it.
Well, do you think that the only way this gun law is going to be changed is going to have to be by just Democrats? Because they continue to trying to think it's going to be some type of bipartisan with Republicans.
Well, they can't though. They have to have some Republican support to pass some of these bills that they want to pass, and unfortunately, that's just the way this country works. Yes.
If I was the president, I would demand. If I had the House and the Senate, I would demand to kill the filibuster for that. Because there's no way you're going to get bipartisan shit with Republicans. So why does Democrats keep playing this game thinking they're going to get bipartisan?
Well, it's a good question. I feel like some of them feel like they have no other choice. I agree with what you're saying, but sadly, with some people,
it's no amendment that says a filibuster has to be included.
Yeah. Well,
it's just kind of
that's true. We need an assault weapons ban. There's a lot of things that need to happen in this country that will lower the gun violence. And you're right. I appreciate the call, Shay, and you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, Democrats have to stop pretending like Republicans are going to come around on gun control, because they never will. After the Sandy Hook shooting, when Barack Obama was president and the Democrats were pushing for gun legislation and Republicans didn't do anything then, does it get any worse than that, or Uvalde? And these Republicans don't change their stances on gun control. It's absurd. I'm with you, Shay, 150%. I was going to take a break, but now I'm not going to do it because I don't want to allow my lovely guest to be waiting any further. Her name is Nicole Mitchell, and you might have seen her on TV. She's been on the Dr. Phil show. She's been on the Jimmy Kimmel show. Her story, pretty interesting. She comes from a evangelical right family as a pastor. And now she's gotten out of that lifestyle and she's the opposite. She's a life coach. She's an OnlyFans model. And it's always a pleasure to talk to Nicole Mitchell, who joins us every Friday. Nicole, I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Looking lovely as always. How are you?
I'm so good, Brian. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for having me.
It's always nice to talk about some lighter topics with you after I take 90 minutes of phone calls, and it gets very heated at times. So you're a breath of fresh air. Before I get to the Super Bowl, and we're going to talk a lot about the Super Bowl today, I want to talk to you a little bit about Fani Willis. And the Fani Willis case is very interesting to me because, at least in my personal opinion, it shows a powerful Black woman and Trump's attorneys going after her for having what they would consider an inappropriate sexual relationship as she hired this man to preside over this case. What do you make of that? And do you think this would happen to a man? What do you make of people going after women and going after the sexual relationships that they have? And I just feel like it is so beyond the pale and it's unfair. What do you make of this?
I mean, I think you're totally spot on. There's definitely a double standard for women versus men. And it's interesting because I'm like, there are a lot of people who sleep together who also work together. I mean, even spouses who run companies or have similar companies and they sleep together. And yet it's the women that are highlighted. It's women who are vilified. It's women who are the problem when we're talking about Trump here, right? Like the sexual predator, but we're concerned about this woman and who she's having sex with.
Yes, I agree. Let me ask you something else. Let's just say you're working at a company and your boss happens to be a woman. She's running this, I don't know, let's just say a hedge fund company. I'm just using that as an example. And there's a man that she's dating. You have more experience than the man that she's dating. And she promotes that man to, I don't know, assistant general manager or something. How would you feel about that? If she's dating that man, a lot of people would say, well, she only did that because of the relationship they have. What would you say to some people that would make that argument?
I mean, there can be truth to it. There can be truth where you have bias for the person you're sleeping with. And I've actually seen it happen both ways. I've actually seen where two people are sleeping together and the person treats the one as inferior, like doesn't give them any advantage, like shoves them down so hard to try to make it look like I'm not showing any favor, but actually to a detriment. And then I've seen it happen where they do favor the person they're sleeping with. So it is real. It's a whole spectrum. But I don't think it's one or the other. So this is where you have to take it case by case.
Why is it in society today, in so many cases, when a man is dating multiple women, they don't call him a name. They don't chastise him for dating multiple women and having a lot of sex. But when a woman is dating multiple men, in some cases, she will be defined, for lack of a better term, as a slut.
Yeah.
Why is it in 2024 we're still dealing with this when it comes to women and men and sexual relations?
And you know what? It's not even if a woman is sleeping with a lot of men. It's even a woman who just likes sex. I went through a slut phase and I reclaimed that term as a compliment because to me, a slut is a woman who knows what she wants and lets herself have it.
I can make a horrible joke and say, I wish I knew you back then, but I would never make a joke like that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I went through that season where I dated and slept with a lot of people and I loved it. Now I'm in a season where I'm not sleeping with as many people, but I love intimacy. I love experiences. I share about it very publicly and I'm still called a slut. And I'm still called a hoe. And exactly like you said, men are doing the same thing, but we don't have a name for him. Or we compliment him. He's the man.
Right. And going back to Fani Willis, there's a lot of Donald Trump supporters out there that are calling her those types of names, which are obviously inappropriate. They're wrong.
Yep.
And it gets me upset.
Yes.
It gets me upset because here's obviously a very intelligent woman. People could make the argument that maybe she used bad judgment by hiring this man in such a high profile case. And I can understand that and maybe even agree with that, but don't go after her because she had a relationship. And there are some MAGA supporters out there that are doing the same. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is the guy who's cheated on every single wife he's ever had unprotected sex with a porn star months after Barron was born. And these are the same people that want to go after the sexual relations of Fani Willis, who had a adult relationship. Didn't even cheat on a spouse or anything. That would be one thing with a colleague, right?
Yeah, we cannot handle a woman who knows what she wants and lets herself have it, especially in regards to sex.
Yeah,
We can't
it's just
handle it. So we have to do everything we can to vilify her and shut her down, draw attention away from what's actually happening, and try to distract everyone with something that is really not the issue here.
yeah, yeah. It just mesmerizes me. And I get mesmerized going to the Super Bowl, to the Taylor Swift Travis Kelsey situation, because it's like, here I see two women, or I'm sorry, a man and a woman. Not that two women would be something horrible. It wouldn't be. I'd enjoy watching that, but that's another story for another show. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey seems like they're in a really healthy, loving relationship. They obviously care and love each other. It seems like they're having a great time together, and I'm all for that. Why do so many people hate to see people that are happy? Why are so many people going after them? I don't get it.
I think we have too much time in our hands, Brian. I think if people were actually busy pursuing their dreams, doing what they love, living their life to the fullest, they would not have near the amount of time and energy that they exert towards analyzing, criticizing, discussing, gossiping, obsessing over a couple that really has no impact on their world, and vice versa. I'm like,
Right.
get busy living, live your life, go after your dreams. Life is short. Get over it. Get over them is how I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah. I mean, Taylor Swift donated $100,000 yesterday to the woman who lost her, to the woman's family, the woman who lost her life at the Kansas City Chiefs parade. She just donated $100,000 to the family, which I applaud her for doing. And yet there are people out there that call her vile names and disgusting names. When I look at Taylor Swift, forget about her musical success. Someone who's a good, decent human being who cares about people, right? And the same people that are attacking her are the same people that don't even want to talk about gun control, let alone donating money and donating and sending money to those that were injured or even killed in the Kansas City Chiefs parade. I mean, Taylor Swift has done a lot of good to help a lot of people.
Yeah, it's bizarre that we'd obsess over Taylor's dating life and not get busy doing gun reform. Like,
Yeah,
let's
I agree.
stop distracting from the bigger issues here and actually create change where it matters the most.
Sure. I didn't get a chance to even talk to you about the Super Bowl. I mean, there's a lot of different topics to discuss. Obviously, it was a very, very positive for the NFL having it. And there's a lot of people that think that we should have the Super Bowl in Las Vegas every year. It was one of the highest rated football games of all time, one of the highest rated Super Bowls of all time, one of the highest betting Super Bowls of all time from people out there that bet. I mean, there's a lot of positives to go around, and there's a lot of people that think, as I said, that the Super Bowl should be in Las Vegas every year. What do you think about that?
I mean, I'm a variety girl. I love variety. I love diversity. I love mixing things up. So I'm always going to take typically a stand for mixing things up. I will say this though, one benefit of Taylor Swift dating who she's dating, it was the first time I understood football. When my partner was trying to tell me who was playing, I kept getting confused because I don't know either team. They're both red. And he goes, well, it's Taylor's team versus the. I'm like, I'm on it. I got it. So Taylor made football accessible for me. So another beautiful thing about Taylor dating whoever she wants to date is it made NFL more accessible to people like me who don't have a lot of knowledge in that area.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that maybe aren't even big football fans, but they're all into the Travis Kelsey, Taylor Swift. Are you a Swiftie? I never even asked you that.
I'm not really, but I did watch her movie on New Year's Eve, and I really fell in love with her as a musician. And since then, I've played a lot of her music. My kids call me a Swiftie, but I just tell them her music is so easy to listen to. And so I do. I like her as a musician, and it just happened as of December 31st.
So as an OnlyFans model that you are, do you feel like in 2024 moving forward, there's going to be more ads for OnlyFans, maybe Super Bowl commercials? We've seen political commercials. How did you make, I guess my question to you, I wanted to ask you, is coming from an evangelical right family and being a pastor, how do you feel about those Jesus commercials being played during the Super Bowl? They did it last year as well. What do you think of that?
I mean, America is a free country-ish. It is also a very evangelical country, so I'm not surprised. I always like to compare it to, but would they be cool if we did an air on Muhammad? Would we be okay with doing a commercial on Allah? Like, if we say America is the land of the free, then are we actually supportive of other religions being able to promote their religion? I don't think we are. So there is definitely a bias in America's expression, and that's where it rubs me wrong. Like, if you can promote Christianity, then why can't we promote Islam or promote Judaism or promote Buddhism? Like, America says it's free, but it's very slanted in one direction.
I wanted to ask you this question because sometimes people use the term antichrist, right? I hear that sometimes. So I'm curious, as someone who is a former pastor, I'm sure you're familiar with the term. In society, do you have any antichrist? You say, oh, that's the antichrist. Do you ever use that term today? And what would that be? I'm just curious.
Brian, apparently I am the Antichrist. So
Not
if you
according to
ever
me.
wanted to meet the Antichrist, I'm here in the flesh. Apparently, I just found out a few years ago. I also just found out a few years ago that I'm the head of the Illuminati. So here it is, people. Like, literally, I got all these accusations a few years ago, Brian, and I had to Google what is the Illuminati because I didn't even know. And when I read it was, I died laughing. There could not be a worse leader for such a group than Nicole Mitchell. But the fact that they were calling me the Antichrist and I'm the leader of the Illuminati, I felt like it was a compliment. That you think I'm that capable and that powerful and that influential and that on top of things, like, thank you.
I think Donald Trump is the Antichrist, but I don't want to put you two in the same category. I certainly would never do that. If you're just joining us, she is Nicole Mitchell. She is a former pastor, comes from a very far right evangelical family. She left that lifestyle. Now she's having a lot of fun as an OnlyFans model. She's also a life coach. I'm curious, when people come up to you in your life coaching, what is the most common thread, the most common mistake that you think people make in life as it passes them by?
I think there's many. I would say one is we make other people responsible for our results. This person didn't hire me, so I didn't get the job. It's why I'm stuck at a shitty job. This person didn't promote me, so this is why I'm not making enough money. This person broke up with me. This is why I'm alone and miserable. Like, we make everyone else responsible for the life that we're living, not realizing we are the ones who have all the responsibility and power to create any life we want, for better or for worse.
Yeah, I like that. I like that so much. I have to pick apart a statement that somebody made on social media during this conversation. A guy by the name of Traditional Tattoo. So, that's his name. He said, in the last 5 minutes, the host hasn't named one gun law that could have stopped the shooting in Kansas City from happening. I just want to respond to that really quickly by saying, and I say this over and over again, people like that don't know how to listen. There's not one law that could stop all the shootings in this country from happening. There's not one law that could have 100% stopped the shooting in Kansas City from happening. So for somebody to make a statement like that is extremely ignorant. But here's what I will say. If we had an assault weapons ban, if we had stronger red flag laws, if we had stronger illegal gun laws put on the books, it would make it harder for people to commit these types of heinous crimes. I talk about it over and over and over again. And if you don't believe me, not you, Nicole, I know you do, but if Traditional Tattoo, it's probably a MAGA tattoo he has on his shoulder. But if Traditional Tattoo would actually look up the facts, which are when we had a assault weapons ban in this country in the early 90s, gun violence went down 46%. You can look that up if you don't believe me. And Nicole, guess what happened when it fizzled out and Republicans allowed that assault weapons ban to fizzle out? Guess what happened?
Fill me in.
Gun violence went up over 240%. So for Traditional Tattoo, you couldn't name me one gun law that could have stopped that shooting from happening. I don't know that, and you don't know that, but there are things we can do in this country that can lower the gun violence, make it harder for bad people to get their hands on guns. But again, I have these conversations with people every day. Can you imagine, Nicole, if you and your family are just going out to celebrate a Chiefs parade or really any parade for that matter with your family, and you have to run for cover because of gunshots that are ringing out? I mean, can you imagine what that must feel like as a mother? Because I know you're a mom.
Terrifying. I remember a few years ago, my girlfriend came to visit me here in California, and I took her to the mall. We were shopping, and we heard a bang, and everyone starts running for cover. It's a gun, and it's sheer panic. And you're running, you're trying to decide, do I run down the main hall to get to a main exit, or do I run into a store that's a dead end but maybe can hide? And it's the first time I've ever experienced like that. We end up in a store in the back office with all the doors locked and bolted shut. People are bawling. People are calling. There's some phones don't have any service. I'm freaking out. My girlfriend's calling her family, saying goodbye. It was absolutely terrifying. And eventually We like snuck out and made a run for the car, got away. And then later it came out that it wasn't a gun. Someone had taken a bat, shattered a jewelry case that made a pop, and it sounded like a gun. And the fact that Americans have a knee-jerk reaction that a sound could sound like a gun and we flee for our lives shows we have a massive gun problem. We are so afraid because these happen so often, and we do not have the laws in place to prevent as much of these as possible, that we are all saying goodbye to loved ones because we heard a loud sound.
Yeah,
We have
that's
a problem.
horrible. That's horrible. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. That's really scary. And we do have a problem.
Yeah.
And the people that want to get into the weeds with me all the time on, oh, do you know what an assault weapon is? Or what would have stopped that from happening? These are the same people that have no solutions. What we're doing right now is not working. And I want to hear people that come up with solutions. Doesn't mean we have to agree on all of them, but for the people that want to get into the weeds, the dummies that want to get in, what's an assault weapon? You don't know what an assault weapon is. Okay, well, why don't you tell me what your solutions are then to all the gun violence in this country? And they don't know what to say. Those people are idiots, and they waste my time, Nicole. I really. What do you got going on, by the way, this weekend? You don't waste my time. What do you got going on
I
this
love
weekend with
you,
your
and I
family?
love our conversations. I'm actually taking my babies to the snow this weekend. We're going to Big Bear, be in the snow. We're going to go sledding. We're going to go skiing. We're going to go snowboarding, whisking them away for a little winter
I
wonderland.
love it.
escape.
Well,
Yes.
if you see Robert F. Kennedy Jr. out there skiing, tell him I said he's not fit for president because I know he likes to ski. But, well, Nicole, I hope you have a wonderful time with your family. That does sound like a lot of fun. No skiing for me, although I'm sure a lot of people will be skiing on the Las Vegas Strip. That was a horrible joke. I would never make that joke on the air. Anyway, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us. You're the best. I look forward to catching up with you next week. I'm going to go listen to some Taylor Swift music. So thanks.
Perfect.
Thanks for
Thank you,
coming
Brian.
on. Good to see you,
Bye.
Nicole. Thank you. So for everybody out there that wants to know, how can you follow me personally? You can go on my YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. You can go on my website, which I believe is PTL Radio. Yes, as my producer reminds me. My website is PTL Radio. Email address is on there. I'm also on TikTok. I'm on X. I'm on Facebook. We're everywhere. And of course, the Occupy Democrats Network. We appreciate being a part of that platform as well. And we ask you subscribe for $5, a cup of coffee every month, and you're going to get extra content from yours truly. So we're going to have some big guests lined up for next week. Boy, there's a lot of news. There's so much stuff to cover. I tried to do my best in covering all of it today. Something you won't hear on Sean Hannity's show or Laura Ingram's show tonight, I'm sure, is this former FBI informant that lied about President Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. You probably won't hear about that, or the fact that the movie 2000 Mules was a total lie, proven in a courtroom, by the way. You probably won't hear about that on Fox News, OAN, or Newsmax. You probably won't hear too much anti-Vladimir Putin talk in regards to Alexei Navalny, who is a 46-year-old healthy man, died. I think we all could probably agree. Just same thing with Otto Warmbier, that he was murdered. That's what these evil, murderous dictators do in these countries. They murder innocent people. In this case, Alexei, a hero. And my thoughts and prayers certainly go out to his family. It's just a horrible story. It's terrible. But these right-wing Republicans, I guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, they'll be leading with Fani Willis's sex life, because that's more important to them than gun control. That's more important to them than health care. That's more important to them than getting things done in this country. It's more important to them than securing the border. Let's talk about Fani Willis's sex life. So Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Mark Levin, and all these right-wing idiot bozos are going to be leading with today. And the 1,000 conservative talk radio shows who do the same talking points every day, and they talk about Hunter Biden's penis every day, and how Joe Biden's responsible for all the issues at the border, and how abortion should be illegal. Every day it's what they talk about. It's the exact same talking points every day. I try to actually cover the news on this show and talk about real issues that face you, the American people, not Fani Willis's sex life, which doesn't affect anybody. Oh, yeah, by the way, Donald Trump is still facing 91 felony counts. I just figured I would share that with all of you. Sports story, something that I will share with you here at the end. Tiger Woods just withdrew from the Genesis Invitational. That's not good. I would imagine that has something to do with his health concerns. I don't think we're going to be seeing Tiger Woods out on the golf course much anymore because of the issues he's had with his legs. It's sad. All right, everybody. It's been a fun time. Follow me at PTL Radio Show on YouTube. That's where the best place to contact me personally also would be X and my Facebook fan page, and, of course, the Occupy Democrats Network. I appreciate all of you very much. Thanks for joining us. Follow my website. Check out my website, PTL Radio. Subscribe on my website. See you on Monday, everybody. Have a great day.